Fitness with Franz, where we get together to learn about financial intelligence, investments, and getting fit, right? Because we're being financially fit and physically fit is where it's at, guys. But I just wanted to say good morning here from San Diego. It is a gorgeous morning out there, as you guys can see. Beautiful. It is cloudy. It is rainy. It is a little cool in San Diego. But good morning. Let's get right to it. We're going to talk about the last mile, which is an investment opportunity with my fund, Everly Mae. We're completing this 32-unit apartment building. So there's a really good opportunity for people that want to participate in helping us complete this build of the 32. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the last mile and excuse me, discuss the opportunity that it may provide for investors that may be interested. So we're just going to get right to it this morning, though. Get to this working out. Oh boy, excuse me. Today was one of those days that I didn't feel like working out today much. So this is when you really got to push yourself to get through it. And that's what I'm doing today, is just pushing myself to get through it. The thing's not quite centered, is it? Like that. There you go. Better. So good morning, guys. Good morning, Dexter. Good morning, Dexter. Get up. Good morning, Dex. It is about that time. Are you around San Diego, Dex, or are you driving somewhere? Are you in town right now? You in town right now, Dex, or are you driving around? Where'd you go? Excuse me. The center? What's the center? What is the center? I don't even know what you're talking about. The center? Are you local in San Diego right now, or are you out working, driving across the United States somewhere? I thought you said you were in town. What's the center? You got me baffled. The center. Huh. Well, anyways, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Good morning. What we're going to do today is, because I didn't even really feel like working out. And usually when you don't feel like working out, that's a sign you better get to working out. But I just didn't feel like it today. Low energy. It was, rainy yesterday. Us San Diegans out here in California, we don't like the rain much. So this is just one of those mornings where it's cold. Wifey's in bed. It's nice and warm and cuddly in there. And it's kind of rainy in San Diego and the weather's kind of stinky. And it's one of those days I didn't feel like getting up and getting at it and working out. And, usually it kind of feels like that more so before you get in your first set. Once you get in your first set and your body gets moving, your blood gets flowing, all that kind of goes right out the window, and your body starts to feed off of that movement and energy. And then you can get through a whole workout. And then by the time you get through the whole workout, when really you could have just stayed in bed, you're going to appreciate yourself for making that progress physically. So we're going to get in some lat pull downs, some seated rows, some upright rows, some curls. We're going to do some back, some shoulders, and some biceps today. So, you guys know it's physical and financial fitness with Patrick. So I want to motivate people to get in shape, in their best shape ever, no matter where they're starting from. No matter what age we are and no matter what our physical goals are, if you're wanting to progress with your health, with your fitness, with your energy levels, just want to look better, at the beach when you take your shirt off, whatever it may be, then I just want to help to try to motivate people to exercise. And so if it's a guy like me that's just at least consistent every morning, I do this from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. here in my dungeon garage gym that I built because I don't like going to the gym. But trying to get in better shape myself at 46 years old. And if I can be a motivational factor to somebody else's life and I can help somebody else achieve their fitness goals, somebody who can, lose that weight they've been wanting to lose, get, treat themselves better, get better habits, more energy to spend time, do things with their kids. Like I said, just looking better physique wise. Some women want to drop some weight. Some women want to look better, in a bikini and that kind of thing. And that's personal confidence, self-confidence. So if I can help somebody build confidence, men want to look better, in a pair of board shorts or something like that. But either way, it's not all about looks and vanity. It's about health, fitness, energy, being able to spend more time with your kids and your grandkids and having a better life. And that does take some effort. So if I can be your motivation to get in better shape and your motivation to maybe work out, that's great. I would love to be that person for you. So if you're working out with me this morning, fantastic. Like I said, I'm going to do pulling exercises today. So I'm going to do lat pull downs, seated rows, upright rows, curls, and those things to work my shoulders and my traps and my biceps. So work out along with me. That's fantastic. If I can be your motivation to get in better shape, great. But also, this is about finances, guys. And so we like to talk about investment opportunity, cash flow, financial freedom, passive income, and those kinds of things on this channel. And I like to ask questions, at least the questions that I can answer, that I have specialties in, like apartment development and notes and cash flow and, some real estate related endeavors and crypto and those kinds of things. So if you guys have investment questions, I like to answer them live on here and help people progress in both categories of their lives with their fitness and their finance. Now, today, we're going to be doing all these pulling exercises, lat pull downs, seated rows, upright rows, and curls and things like that. But we're also going to talk about the last mile. And we just call it the last mile because in developing multifamily, if you're going to build an apartment building like we are now, building a 32-unit apartment building out in Palm Bay, Florida. And when you're doing that, there's stages to builds and land development. There's stages to it. Obviously, the first stage is you have to have the land. That's the big deal there. You got to get that land, right? Without land, you ain't going to be able to build anything. So when you acquire the land, of course, one of the things you're trying to do, of course, when they say location, 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 one of the things you're trying to do when you acquire land is get land that's in the path of progress, if you would, right? Land that's in a good area of growth, that's in need of what it is you plan to build there. So getting ahead of growth and being able to acquire the land is number one. If you're just hopping on with Fitness and Finance with Patrick, we're going to do pulling exercises today for our workout, but we're going to talk about the last mile, which is the last bit of building a 32-unit apartment building out in Palm Bay, Florida. We call it the last mile because there's these stages when you're doing apartment development from the ground up. There's stages to it. And so I'm going to go over those stages with you guys and maybe help you guys understand multi-development a little bit today while we work out together. And then tell you about this 32 unit that we're building and what is the last mile of an apartment development like that and where we're at. And, we're looking for some investor participation and things like that. So if you are an investor, you might want to check this out. It's a really cool project. If you got cash or IRA and you're looking for a good real estate backed investment opportunity, this might be for you. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to crush this workout, even though I didn't feel like working out today, guys. But if I can motivate you to move and motivate you to work out and try to get in your best shape ever, no matter where you're starting from, no matter what age you are, that's one of my goals doing this. Otherwise I would sit in my office with a suit on and talk to you only about financial stuff. So I'm raw and real here down in my garage gym. I figured if I'm going to be working out in the mornings and trying to get myself in better shape, I might as well motivate others to do that too. And then I can talk about some of the things that I do financially and we can have fun because I know that people have a bunch of questions about this stuff. So good morning. Tell me where you're in from. Tell me where you are listening in from. What part of the United States, or maybe you're not even in the United States, but I'm always curious when people hop on my lives, where are you watching in from, guys? But pop that in the comments. Love to give you a shout out. In El Centro, headed to Texas. El Centro's like San Diego's Texas. El Centro's like San Diego's Texas, isn't it? So Dexter's in El Centro. That's here in San Diego. And he's going to be heading to Texas, driving across the country. Well, good to have you on this morning, Dexter. Dexter is well aware of us building a 32-unit apartment building out there in Palm Bay. Hey, NJ, what's going on? NJ is one of my favorites. NJ is out there on a Indian reservation in Wyoming and likes to come visit me. And thanks for calling me Coach NJ. Good to see you here this morning. But we're going to talk about this last mile, okay, guys? Obviously, we're going to get our workout in too. But let's get right to it because I want you guys to understand the last mile and how kind of exciting it can be and what kind of a cool opportunity it is for investors to participate in. Pretty cool. So, we're building a 32-unit apartment building, okay? That's the premise of it. But in order to build an apartment building, in order to build anything for that matter, right? You have to have the land. So that's the first step. I'm trying to figure out how much weight to put on here. We're going to throw those 25-pound plates on top of these two tents. So we'll have 45 pounds on each side of this thing. This is going to be heavy probably, but that's okay. We'll lift heavy today. And really get those muscles activated. And you'll see me struggle a little bit. How's that? Oh, that's good. Okay. So we're going to lift a little bit heavier today. And we're going to struggle a little bit. So it'll be fun. Palm Beach. Dexter's in Palm Beach. How funny. I kind of seem like it with the way I've been talking on here. What do you mean by that, NJ? How funny. All right, guys, but when you're going to build something for a house or an apartment building or anything for that matter, you've got the land, okay? The land is the first step, so you have to buy land. And, of course, you tell me, right? Assuming you want to build something, whether it's a small tract of single-family homes or you want to build a small apartment building or you want to do something like that, let's say, okay? I'm not saying you would go out and build it and pour the concrete and, build the building. I'm saying you would probably raise the money and get the experts. No, it's in Palm Bay, not Palm Beach, Dexter. Palm Bay, which is easily confused with Palm Beach. It's in Palm Bay. But anyways, guys, you would get the land, right? And you would think, well, if I'm going to build something, first of all, in your guesstimation, that piece of land has to be something that looks like you could build whatever it is you're thinking of building on that piece of land, right? It doesn't have, rocks and a canyon going down the middle of that piece of land. It has to be land you could build something on. And then, location. So do you get a piece of land to build an apartment building that's rural, way out in the middle of nowhere in the forest? No, probably not, or a hotel or something like that. So, usually when you're buying the land, it's like they said, location. And when you're building multifamily apartment buildings, you would think you'd want to probably get land in an area of growth, whereas they need more apartments. That would be smart, right? So that's kind of the first step. And in getting the land acquisition done, can you use investor capital or can you leverage OPM to buy land? Yes, you can. Can you buy land with your own money as an investor? Yes, you can. Can you buy land to hold it? Yes. Can you flip land? Yes. Can you, you can do all sorts of things with this land, right? Oh, that's okay. That's funny. NJ would rather say, I don't know, a teacher instead of a coach. You can call me Coach. They called my dad. My dad was Coach Franz, and my dad was a weightlifting instructor and a college professor at San Diego State University, and they used to call him Coach. So I kind of find it endearing, actually. And if I can coach someone or teach them anything to help them out, that's great. It makes me happy. But so this land, right? Oh, this is going to be really heavy. Yeah, that's a lot heavier. That this land, you would figure that, you have to have first and foremost. But what most people don't really know is that you have what they refer to in this business, you have what they refer to as the horizontal development. So when we're talking about development, we know what vertical development is. Vertical development is when you're building the structure, But horizontal development in land investing means that you have to get things permitted and approved. Yeah, this one's heavy. Ooh, that's heavy this morning. You have to get things permitted and approved to be able to build what it is you want to build on that piece of land, right? So they call this the horizontal development. What you've got to do to this raw land that you've purchased in order to get it prepared to be able to build something on it, right? In some jurisdictions or some cities, the city or the state may not want a new apartment building there on that piece of land. They may not give you the go-ahead to be able to build that structure on that piece of land. So you have to get it approved, you have to get it permitted, you have to get it pushed past environmental inspections where they're checking for, a certain type of tree or scrub brush or a certain type of animal that's protected that may be on your property or on your land. Of course, before you bulldoze or you tractor it and start pouring foundation for any type of structure. So you have to go through all this red tape. All this red tape where you're seeking approvals from the powers that be. You got to get approved to be able to build that thing. You got to get approved to connect city water and electricity. You got to get approved, every step of the way in just the land before you can even take and put a shovel and shovel dirt on that piece of land. Okay. So they call it preparing the land to be shovel ready. And that's a big step. And honestly, an underlooked step. The land entitlement and permitting process, which is that horizontal development, is highly underrated. This can take longer, many times much longer than the vertical development of actually building a huge building. Just the land part, before they'll let you put a shovel or put a tractor on the darn piece of land. Oh gosh, I'm going to get to that one in just a second in the comments, but you have to do all this stuff to the land first to get approved to where they'll allow you to build whatever it is on that piece of land, right? But I see that FGRF. Oh, for show. What is that? FGR faux show. FGR faux show. Let me check this out. He said, do you support the U.S. military weaponizing turtles? The only reason I'm bringing this one up, faux show, is because, dude, talking about horizontal development, and when you're getting those approvals and getting permitted and getting everything approved to be able to go and put tractors on land now and try to start moving forward to grade and pour foundation to build something like an apartment building. Get this. I'm from San Diego, California, so this one tripped me out. Out there in Florida, in Palm Bay, speaking of turtles, right? Out there in Palm Bay, in Florida, where we're building this 32 unit, part of the land entitlement process I had to go through was environmental, right? It's always environmental. Environmental came onto this property in Palm Bay and said, it looks like you have 2 active gopher tortoise burrows. A gopher tortoise. I didn't even know what a gopher tortoise was, that a gopher tortoise existed. What is a gopher tortoise anyways? But we had 2 active burrows of live gopher tortoises on the land where we want to build the 32 unit, right? Well, those things have to be removed and relocated safely and whatnot. They're a protected species out there in Florida, I guess. And they're called gopher tortoises because they dig in the dirt and they dig like a gopher burrow, and they live in this dirt burrow they make on land out there in Florida. It's called a gopher tortoise. If anybody's from Florida, you know what I'm talking about, but I didn't know they existed. You know what we had to do? We had to pay some sort of audacious amount of money. It was ridiculous. So it was they're little tortoises, like this big. They're little tortoises that you could just pick up and like move somewhere. They wouldn't let you do it. They wouldn't let you do it. You would get stopped on build, and they would fine you big time and stuff. You weren't allowed to touch the gopher tortoises. I'm like, are you kidding me? So anyways, we had to pay like $6,000 per tortoise or something. There was 2 of them. We had to pay so much money in order to get this land, in order to be approved to build on there. We got to get the tortoises. They're protected. We got to get them out of there. It was such a trip, dude. So anyways, we had to pay all this money to get these gopher tortoises relocated. But that's one of the things that you're going to get into when you're trying to get into land and land development, because you have to go through all this red tape to get approved to be able to build something on there, whether it's a house or an apartment building or a self-storage facility or whatever it is. So you got to go through the powers that be in the politics to get these gopher tortoises out of there. So anyways, what a trip. I was so mad. I said, if I ever hear the word gopher tortoise ever again, I'm going to pull my teeth out. These little buggers. But yeah, so that's a part of the land entitlement process. Got to do these environmentals. You got to get sometimes like the certain plants or scrub brush off the property, and all sorts of different things, man. It's wild. They'll pull a bunch of stuff, but it's all the red tape. It takes a really long time. And then being able to get, I wish I would have just been able to go and pick the little tortoise up and say, oh, hey, little buddy, and take him next door to a different nice piece of land and put him safely. They wouldn't let you do that. It was wild. Have to be environmentally relocated by an expert. I'm like, oh my God. So obviously a big money grab, right? And they are protecting these tortoises, which is cool. But yeah, everything's a money grab and everything's red tape, and they make you go through so much, whether it be political or whatever, environmental. And it's just one of the things you got to do. So first you got to buy the raw land. Then you got to go through the permitting and entitlement processes, which they refer to as the horizontal development. And then they'll let you go into, vertical development and start to build something, right? So, that's a part of the gig, all right? So now, when you've got all of your approvals and you've got your land entitled and permitted, and they've got the gopher tortoises relocated, and all this other stuff, guys, then they go, okay, now you can start building on that land. So I want you, most people overlook that. Most people don't realize, I got to get a Zin. I want my nicotine this morning. Most people don't realize that you got to do all that. People think obviously you could buy a piece of land. If you bought a piece of land, then you could obviously just build whatever you want on there. No, that's not truth. That's not the truth. Can't do that. Got to get all these permits, entitlements, and approvals and all that good stuff. Yeah, dude. I agree that California is super weird. Put it this way, California's got more red tape than Florida. I'm building out in Florida because of that. I love building out in Florida. And California is super weird, dude, with all sorts of different stuff politically and that. I tried to buy 22 acres here in San Diego. About two years ago, we had a line on buying these 22 acres here in San Diego, and we wanted to buy it. But it turned out it was going to be like 5 years of red tape before we'd even be able to put a tractor on that land or do anything with it. And when we did the numbers and stuff like that, it obviously didn't pencil out. So we couldn't buy that land. But I don't really build stuff here in California. I like to live in California. I don't necessarily like to build here. But say you got this land now and all the damn gopher tortoises and all this stuff is gone, and you've got the approval from the city, the county, the state, and everything that you can build this thing there. And they say, okay, now it's shovel ready. That means you can get on there and you can dig it up or put shovels or tractors on there. And then you can, at least get started. But one of the things you got to still do to the land is what? What do you still got to do to the land after you're able to get permitted, entitled, put tractor to land, and then they give you the approval to start building? What we have to do is we have to start to put underground infrastructure first, right? You can't put a foundation over what's not plumbed and what's not ready for electrical and all that stuff. So they start to put underground infrastructure before we do any construction work on the actual building. So you're tying in the electrical, you're tying in obviously the plumbing and all that has to be inspected because, you know, if the plumbing lines are off a few degrees of angle, the way they're installed could cause problems, things like that. So you got to do all the underground infrastructure in these on the land, run the electrical in, all the plumbing, all the water, city water access, and all that good stuff before you want to even put a foundation on top of that or pour concrete, right? So you do all that, and then you go and you get your plans, your blueprints, your crews, and they come in first and they pour a big old foundation, right? So you guys know the rest from there. Now we have an entire building to build, but there is those stages to it where you would build the exterior, the shell of the building, then you would do all the interior framing. You'd put the roof on top to seal the box up. You got to put the roof on top, and now you kind of got a shell of a building. And now you kind of do the big work, which is going to be installing the windows and the doors, finishing off the roof and the trim, stuccoing the outside of the building, pouring the asphalt for the parking lot, and those kinds of things. I did actually, your favorite band from San Diego, I did CWAG know some people from Blink-182. Back in the day, God, I'm 46 now, but back in the day, 20 years ago or more, I saw one of those guys down in Pacific Beach. But yeah, cool people. Blink-182. It was a good band. Yep, they're my age. We're old now. So anywho, now you've got like this big shell built, right? But it doesn't have any finish work. So you got like a huge building with a roof on it. The interior framing, you know, the walls, all the 2x4s are made to separate walls, kitchens and all that. You know, you've got the floors and the subfloors put in, and then you've got your building exterior, which out in Florida is cinder block. You've got a roof on the shell to make it leak proof. You know, you still have dirt out there, so you're gonna have like a parking lot for all the residents of the apartment building to park their cars and all this other stuff. So you do all that, which is sort of like what we call the middle ground. And then you have what's called the last mile. So that's what I was going to talk to you about today. We're excited. We're at the last mile of this 32 unit building. And excuse me, not only is it exciting, but it creates kind of a unique investment opportunity for investors because, you know, investors are always, when they're putting money into a deal, evaluating the time, the risk, and the return, all that, right? Time involved in the deal, the risk of the investment, and the return on the investment are things that we look at as investors. And, you know, in the very beginning, when we're buying the land and we're going through the permitting and the entitlements and the approvals and that, and worrying about have to remove these endangered gopher tortoises and all this crap, when we're getting into all that, there's a lot of unknowns. And you don't even know if you'll be fully approved. And all of this is sometimes a little bit of unknown. If not, maybe it just takes a lot longer than you thought, but time is money. So when investors are investing in the beginning of a project like this, it's obviously a little more speculative, a little more risky and that. In the middle, not so much because you own the land and you've gone through the permitting and entitlement processes. And now at least you're starting to do some sort of horizontal or vertical development, like pouring foundation and that. So that's a much better place for an investor to come in. Then you got the last mile, which the last mile is just putting the finishing touches on a build so that you can get it occupied by the residents that are going to live there. Yeah, they are my age, CWAG. I'm 46 now. That was the cool era. There was a lot of good. I grew up, with 80s and 90s music. 80s and 90s music was really good in my opinion before they started singing blah, blah, blah. They actually had lyrics still back then that you could understand. But so let's say you get to going now on building this building and everything like that. And now you've got the last mile. The last mile is where you're going to do the finishing work, put up the drywall, paint the walls, put the moldings in, put the kitchen cabinets in, the toilets and the bathtubs, and do the flooring and the paint and all that good stuff. So that's what we would consider to be like the last stretch or the last mile in building a multifamily apartment building, and that's where we're at right now on the 32 unit in Palm Bay, Florida, not to be confused with Palm Beach. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that's a pretty good opportunity, like for investors? So obviously, investors have been participating with us in the whole process along the way, from raw land to getting all the land permitted and entitled, to doing the environmentals, then to getting approvals and permits, and then going into just doing the underground infrastructure and putting the plumbing in and all that, and going to pour foundation. So yeah, that's how the rap is these days, NJ, right? You're like, oh my God, come on, man. It's not even music. It's wild. Anyhow, I digress. That was my morning mumble rap. Oh, how funny. But really, it becomes a unique possibility for investors, right? Because the investors that were buying in with us and believed in us building these apartments for ever since the beginning, when it was just a piece of dirt, right? It's more risky and all that in those stages. And then, again, you don't know how many gopher tortoises you're going to run into, or if there's some sort of sagebrush or a tree on there that's environmentally protected and all this stuff. You don't know. We found out these gopher tortoises are. So you're going to do all this stuff. So this is more risky for investors to participate in this area than it is now, right? So now we've gone through all that, bought the land, permitting and entitlements, horizontal approvals, got rid of the gopher tortoises, poured the foundation, built the building, put the roof on the building, framed the inside out, and done all this stuff, right? But there's still room for investors to participate with us because we got to finish the building and get it occupied, and there's still money needed to do that. So it's just maybe interesting that it's like advantageous, perhaps. What do you think? For somebody to be investing and getting the same type of level of returns and same type of level of treatment as investors did when they came in earlier in the game, right? Right now, do you think it's more advantageous for folks to participate now that it's just in the very last mile, right? So it alleviates a lot of the risk. The value of that property has already gone up immensely, because when you do the horizontal entitlements and you get the permits and the environmentals and the approvals and all that stuff, once a raw piece of land has the permits and entitlements and approvals done, that where the city and the state and everybody says you're allowed to build that on there now, we'll let you. Well, now you've increased the value of that land quite a bit, because now, without even touching the land, you could now sell that land to a builder that will move forward to build whatever it may be on that land. But you can sure make a killing on the land itself just by buying the land, getting the permitting and entitlements done and approvals done so that there can be something built on that piece of land, then selling the land to whoever wants to build what it is that you've approved to build on it. So, I mean, that's a way to increase value of raw land, is to take it from raw land and get it approved that that raw land can have something built on it, like, say, a 32-unit apartment building. So that is that land entitlement, what they call the horizontal development, because you're not building anything yet. You're actually developing the land and getting the approvals and the permits done. That increases the value of that land. And then, of course, you're going to really touch shovel. So when you're running the electrical, you're running the plumbing, you're pouring a foundation, you're putting a 32-unit building up, erecting the building, putting a roof on top and all that stuff, it's 75% of the way done. So understand that you've now increased the value of that land much, much, much more, right? And once the building gets completed and occupied and there's people living in the apartment buildings, and you stabilize the rents and you stabilize the occupation of that building, now you've increased the value from raw land to its maximum value, which would be a fully occupied and rented apartment building with people living in it. So that's that process, right? And the last mile here on the 32-unit in Palm Bay is where we're at. We're just going to do the drywall, the flooring, the cabinets, and make it actually, finish off the interior. And last but not least, you got to, build a parking lot. Got to build a parking lot and areas like that for people to park who live there. So that last mile. But what do you guys think, right? So investors can participate all the way from the beginning processes. When you're acquiring the land, going through the permitting and entitlement and approval processes and environmentals, you got to get through all that. Costs a lot of time, a lot of money. Then you got to do the land development, which is to run in underground plumbing and electrical and do all that stuff. And then you got, so I mean, along the way, there's all these stages of building something like this multifamily, and investors are participating all along the way. But what about when it comes to this last mile, where the land's been permitted, approved, entitled, the underground's been done, the environmental's been done, the foundation's been poured, the building's been built, there's been put a roof on top, all the walls inside have been framed out. It's good timing, right, Dex? Dexter says timing is the key. Yeah. Yeah. Because, people who invested early on in the process also have their money as an investor. Their money's tied up for a lot longer time period, right? And when people are coming in as an investor in this last mile, what we like to call the last mile, which is finishing up the building to get it stabilized and occupied, pretty good timing, right? Advantageous for investors coming in at this stage of the game. So yeah, Dexter says timing is the key. But here's another key, which is really cool. I don't even know if you know this, Dexter. If maybe you don't. We just put together a new executive summary and outlined this last mile for some of our investors, and so we're paying really, really good returns. So we're going to raise $3 million. And I don't know, to some of you this may sound crazy or not, but we're raising $3 million, which is the only money we have left to completely finish and occupy the 32 unit building, which is about, guys, so about $6.5 million or so. So you guys know the cost of it. About $6.5 million or so, all in, to build a 32 unit building out there in Palm Bay. That is buying the land, going through all the horizontal permitting and entitlements and environmentals and all that good stuff, and actually building the entire building and parking lot and having it done, ready to occupy, and people live there. It's about $6.5 million project. We're already into it for like 3.5 million of investor capital to get to where we're at now. And in this last mile, which is $3 million, we're raising the $3 million just for this last mile, right? So it's the least risky time for investors to participate, and it's the least amount of time their money's going to have to be deployed. And to push the finish of the project, we're paying higher returns than our average long-term returns in the fund. So somebody do the math for me. If NJ's on, or Dexter, I know you may be driving, but do the math for me. I already know the number, but I want you guys to do it. I want to hear somebody else come up with this number. But tell me if this is a really good opportunity for an investor, okay? And let's say it's $3 million raise, but we don't need $3 million from one person, right? We can have $500,000 from a couple people or whatever to get the $3 million. But just think of these numbers and tell me what you think. So we're paying for, let's say somebody came in for the whole $3 million, and we'll talk about a larger investor that has that kind of capital. Somebody said, "Oh, I'll help you guys finish the builds in that." Well, if they came in with $3 million, they would make 19% return on their money over 12 to 18 months. So it's a year and a half investment. Their money's tied up for a year and a half. They give $3 million, and we pay them 19% return on $3 million. And let's just say it's 1 year. So the investor's involved with us for 12 months, and they make 19% return on $3 million. So they put $3 million in, and within 12 months from now, they get their $3 million back, but plus a 19% return. What is a 19% return on $3 million? What's 19% of $3 million? Who's got a calculator, or who's just really math-wise in their head? What is 19% of $3 million? You tell me. Anybody got the answer? 19% of $3 million. Woo. 45, 19% of 3 million, 45. I don't think it's 45. I don't think it's 45. What's 10% of 3 million? Here, this is better. This is an easier way to figure it out. What's 10% of 3 million? 10% of 3 million is 300,000, right? So if you doubled that to 20%, would be 600,000. It's okay, NJ. But if you did 3 million times 10%, right? 3 million times 10% is 300,000. So if you doubled that, then you get into a 20% return, which is 600,000. So a little bit less than that. Okay, would be a 19% return. There you go, Bethany. Somebody did it. Yay! 570,000 to be exact. So you tell me, guys, it's the least risky time for an investor to come in. It's call it the last mile. There's just the finishing touches to be done before the apartment gets occupied and the value increases to the max. And of course, we're going to be selling the 32-unit apartment building. We're going to be selling it once it's built and occupied. And it sells for about $9.5 million. So we're in it for $6.5 million. It sells for $9.5 million. And somebody who's coming in at the last mile to help us finish off the project is in the least risky position, and they make a really, really great return. So somebody puts $3 million into the project. They're invested with us for 12 months time. So in 12 months, think about that, guys. They put $3 million in the project. They're invested for 12 months. They get their $3 million back plus $570,000 in profit. Is that a good deal or what? Pretty good, right? NJ's completely wrong. You're a little off, NJ. Just a tad. It's all good. That's funny. NJ did not have her calculator out this morning. I can see that. But what do you think, guys? That's a good, I know a lot of us are sitting here saying, yeah, it sounds great, but that's $3 million. Who the hell has $3 million? Good point. So we do have to raise the money from one entity or several different entities to accumulate the total 3 million. But yeah, it's good, right? Daryl said, yeah, it's good. NJ just guessed. That was a horrible guess, NJ. So yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. Really good. As a matter of fact, really, really good. And in fact, it becomes a really, really, really smart position for an investor to be in, because guess what? Whoever invests, if you guys don't know this language, I'm going to tell you right now, but in anybody who invests with us in this last mile, we call it, gets what they call first lien position against the property. Where's my coffee at? First lien position against the property. But we know, you guys, when it's all said and done, it'll sell for $9.5 million. We're in it for $3.5 million with another 3. That's $6 million. So somebody who comes in with this $3 million gets first lien position against this property that already has an apartment building built on it that's almost done. So they have the whole property and apartment and build as their collateral. And they're going to get 19% return on their money and only use the capital for 12 to 18 months. It's a stellar deal, yeah? A stellar deal. And then what it does, guys, and the reason why folks like us would be willing to pay a little bit higher returns for this short-term use of this kind of capital is because it allows us to do what we need to do as the builders, which is to get the darn thing done. Get it done as quickly as possible and rent it out and get it occupied, which then gets to max value of how much that now property can be worth once it's completely occupied and rented out. So that was kind of funny. Bad math. But what do you guys think of that? What is your take on that? Do you have any questions about building? Questions about raising capital to do a project like this? Won't the bank give you the money? Daryl's asking. Won't the bank give you the money? You have a very detailed... Yeah, of course they will. Banks love these deals. But there's a couple different caveats to using bank financing, Daryl. My partner's 72 years old, and he's been through it so many times. A bank is not loyal. A bank is not loyal to us, right? Excuse me. It's getting warm already. But no, a bank is not loyal. A bank is not loyal. A bank is generally not a long-term partner. And banks will shut your credit lines down. Banks will shut your credit lines down on a whim. If something happens with the economy or something like that, you can be right in the middle of a build. You can be working with a big bank or financial institution who maybe say gave me, like, let's say this, Daryl. Let's say they, to keep the money in the little guy's hands is number one, right? I mean, look, I'd rather benefit other people's families, other human beings, other people's families. I'd rather benefit, and we work together to get this thing done. We have the skills in the team to build this apartment. Maybe they have some money. Makes a good team, right? And I want to benefit other people's families. I don't necessarily want to get banks and institutions any wealthier than they already are. That's number one, and that's just principle based. Okay, I'd rather work with people than banks. And then number two is that those banks are not loyal. Regular folks will stick with you. Regular folks are in it to win it with you. And you're a team trying to get this project over the board and everybody make money. People are that way. Banks, not so much. Anytime something happens with the economy or the banking system, they can just pull your line of credit or stop allowing you to have access to the money they promised you. So that's another reason, man, is like being in the middle of a build and having access to bank financing, and you're completing these stages along the way. So you're taking a little bit of money from your commercial lender and completing a stage. Then you'll need some more money from the commercial lender to complete the next stage and so forth, because we talked about the stages of building today. And during those stages, who knows what happens, right? It takes a long time, sometimes 2 to 3 years to do all this. And so during this 2 to 3 year time period, there's a lot of unknowns. And then the commercial lending institutions or the big banks, they're really not loyal. And as a matter of fact, they don't care if you're at the last mile of your project. They don't care if everything's gone well and you've met timelines and everything's great and going well. All of a sudden, you go to take that next withdrawal from your commercial lending institution to complete the next stage of your build, and you find out they ain't going to let you have access to the money. Well, why not? We put pause on your credit line right now until we figure this out or that out. It's like, wait, well, hold on a second. I need the money to finish the project. You can't just cut my money off. Oh, yeah, they can just cut your money off. Yeah. So I don't like getting banks richer. I like to get other families benefit from it, not just wealthy institutions like banks. They have no loyalty. They'll cut your credit line off on a whim right when you're in the middle of a damn build. So I'd rather not use bank money if I don't have to. But you're right on point, though, Daryl, because we always have that in our corner. Banking institutions love us. They want to give us money. They ask to give us money quite often, as a matter of fact. And so we have it there in case we need it. So that's a good fallback for emergency, but not our first plan of attack. Not our first plan of attack. Oh my gosh. Yeah, banks are slow. Yeah, they're terrible. Other people's money and working with individuals who have the same focus goal, and people that want to work with you long term, right, guys? We're going to be building 1,000+ units between now and 2030 out there in Palm Bay. It's going to be an ongoing thing for years. So we find good people that want to grow with us, want to be loyal, and want to continue working with us as investors as we continue to build. This can be more of a long-term relationship. But we do have the banks and the commercial lending institutions right there waiting. Yeah, Slimeball Banks, Dexter says. They sure can be. Yeah, they can be great assets too, but I'm not dogging them entirely, but saying I'd rather work with individuals and families to get these built rather than working with big, rich institutions that have no loyalty and don't care about your project. So I'd rather work with people. And, my good people, my good investor people that are with me in it to win it, they're not the type of people that when I go and I say, hey guys, we need a little extra money, like this last mile right now, when we go to raise this $3 million to complete the project as quickly as possible. Of course, we're going to go back to our existing investors that have already participated thus far. They've seen our progress and they've seen we keep our promises, and they may want to put a little bit extra cash in to help us finish it up. And so this money may come from our existing investor base. But bottom line is, it's a really good opportunity for people that are investors because it's the very last mile after all this garbage and red tape has been gone through, which, as if you guys have been on for a while, you've heard me talk about the whole process, and it really is a pain in the butt to do all this. And that's why, there's far less builders of multifamily from the ground up than there are buyers, in which we would call syndicators, right? So oftentimes with the syndication model that everybody's learning out there from the real estate gurus is, of course, to do what's called a syndication, which is to pool investors' money together in what's called a syndication. And you go and raise money from investors in order for you to go and target an older, more dilapidated apartment building that has value add capability. Value add capability means, can you improve the old rundown apartment building? Can you improve it and fix it up and make it nicer so that you can validate charging more for rents? Because the way that these apartment buildings are valuated as far as how much they're worth is really how much cash flow they produce. They're not valued like single family homes, with comps and square footage and that. Really, it is how much money per month or cash flow does that apartment building bring in that will give you what the apartment is valued at. So the higher the rents are raised, the more people pay for rent in that building, the more valuable the building is. So you can buy a dilapidated one, fix it up, increase the rents over a short amount of time. Then you've increased the value of the building, and then you can refi your investors out, or there's a lot of different exit strategies in that case. But what we found out, of course, is that we can build them for cheaper than what we can buy them for. So rather than go and buy an old nasty building that needs a bunch of repair and work and that, and try to bring it up in value in that, we decided we were just going to build them ourselves, build brand new buildings, because you can actually build them for cheaper than what you can buy them for. So we figured, why not just build them? But it is a hell of an undertaking. It does require a really, really good team. And of course, you have to, put the right people in the right places to be able to accomplish these kinds of things. Of course, one of the things that is extraordinarily necessary, no matter who you've got on your team and no matter what crews you've got, is the ability to raise the capital. That's why I wear these cash flow hats around. It creates conversation with people sometimes when out and about. But that's a lesson for any of you guys. If you're going to get into buying any type of real estate at scale, if you're going to buy up mortgage notes like we do for cash flow, if you're going to become a syndicator and you want to do a syndication, raise capital to go buy an apartment building out there like the Grant Cardones of the world, if you want to be a house flipper, you want to scale a house flipping business. I met a guy the other day at the Brotherhood event in San Diego that owned like 175 Airbnbs, or maybe it was more than that, like 200 Airbnbs here in San Diego. I'm like, damn, it's just crushing it, right? But in order to scale anything, you guys, if you want to scale the Airbnb business, syndicate to buy an apartment building, if you want to flip several houses per year, any of these kind of endeavors, you guys, does require a skill set of understanding how to raise money from other people, period. And so one of those caveats about raising money, in which they always refer to as OPM, yes? OPM, other people's money. But I felt like, I guess when I got into my investing career and I started hearing about OPM, using other people's money, I thought it was sort of condescending. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I thought it was like more of a take of, you don't have any money, and so you have to go beg for other people's money to get something done. It's kind of like that thought process. And I don't want you guys to think that the use of other people's money has like a negative connotation at all, because I did kind of feel that way years and years and years ago when I got into this game. But then you realize that even wealthy individuals that have the ability to write the check themselves generally don't. Even the wealthy people don't use their own money for these types of endeavors, because there's two types of value that can be brought into a deal, whether it's house flipping, syndication of buying existing dilapidated apartments, or like we're doing, building them. But the money is absolutely necessary, obviously, to build anything or to do any type of investment. The money is a necessary component. But what about all the other necessary components that have to be in the deal for it to work, right? Somebody has to have specialized knowledge. Somebody has to have the skills and the abilities. Somebody has to be able to put the right people in place and have the connections. Somebody has to be able to manage the work and manage the job. So there's a lot that goes on in, say, building an apartment building, a lot that goes on that's outside of the money. Okay. And so if you have the money, but you don't have the connections, the skills, or the know-how, you ain't going to build it. And if you have the connections, the skills, and the know-how, but you ain't got no money, you ain't going to build it. So understand, like when a company goes public, when a private company goes public, you guys know why a private company goes public on the stock exchange, right? You guys know why? One of the main reasons why companies go from being private to being public on the stock exchange? I think you know the answer, but that is to raise money from other people, okay? When someone builds a skyscraper in downtown New York, somebody's got to have the skills, the knowledge, the know-how, the political pull, the connections, everything, guys. Probably ties with the mob, okay, to get a skyscraper built in down there in New York. So if somebody has all those skills and connections to get a skyscraper built down in New York, I'm certain that individual probably has a lot of wealthy friends that want to participate with that individual monetarily in building that skyscraper. You see, it makes a win-win scenario. So if you're going to scale any type of business in real estate, mortgage notes, house flipping, apartment syndication, development, land, any of that stuff that you want to get into, one of the most important skills that we can try to learn is the raising of OPM, or utilization of other people's capital. And trust me, there are a bunch of people out there that have been blessed with money, but they don't have the skills, the know-how, the political pull, and the knowledge of how to build an apartment building. And so they are also looking for what we call operators. There's people out there that have money to invest, and they're looking for a good team that does have the skills, the knowledge, the know-how, the political pull, everything it takes to push one of these, to push one of these projects across the table. They're looking to team up their money with individuals that do projects that have a good team in place that can put these projects across the finish line. So it makes a good win-win situation for an investor and for an operator. If you think about it, investors that can, say, invest $50,000 or $100,000 into things, have IRA, 401ks and that, the type of investor that can put 50K or 100K into a deal are dime a dozen, really. You could find people all over, your neighbors in your own neighborhood. There's people that have the ability to invest $50,000 into something if they wanted to, okay? So you can find so many people that have the ability to invest that type of capital, dime a dozen. The difference is you generally don't run into a ton of people that have the skills, the political pull, the know-how, the connections to be able to get something like a 32-unit apartment built from the ground up. That's specialized skill. So there's less skilled operators. There's less folks in the marketplace that take the time to learn, join the mastermind groups, ask the questions, team up with a mentor, get their elbows greasy, There's less people willing to do all that to gain the expertise than there are people that have 50 or 100 grand to invest. So obviously it's a good idea to be on the side of the fence of a skilled operator that has taken the time and gone through the, as CW says, gone through the bull crap. Somebody who's gone through the bull crap and gone through the education, the mentorship, the training, the knowledge, the doing, the practicing, and somebody who has the ability to get one of these projects across the board. And again, guys, whether it's a house flip, apartment syndication, a development project, whatever it may be, the person with the skills is oftentimes more important to that deal or that project than it is the money. Because if you can find lots and lots of people with money, but not lots of people with the skills, it shows you where the value is. Let's see. Mike, how much do you need to start off to do one of these projects? Mike Murphy. Tell me what you mean. Or do you mean how much money did I need to have in my own personal bank account to move forward in the idea of building an apartment building? Is that what you mean? Or how much money does an investor need to participate as an investor in the apartment building? What do you mean, Mike? Mike Murphy was just asking How much do you need to start off to do one of these projects? Elaborate just a little bit on that, Mike, if you could. And yes, Daryl Brown, networking is very important. You've heard the cliched statement, which is your net work is generally equal to your net worth. And it's very true. These businesses, and especially real estate related investments in these businesses, it's all very much relationship related. Very much so. Very much so. People are everything. I wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm doing if it weren't for the people around me. Bottom line. But what did you mean by that, Mike? How much do you need to start off to do one of these projects? Can you elaborate on what you mean by that question? Or I'll take it a direction I think that I need to go with that, but I'm not sure. And I will just tell you this, guys. If somebody acquires the skills, the knowledge, the network, the support system, the experience, the expertise, this person becomes very valuable to folks that do have money, if that makes sense. But how much money do you need? First of all, the minimum investment, just to cover that one, the minimum investment for people to invest with us, Dexter, I was going to get to that. So the minimum investment to participate with us is $25,000. So somebody can be an investor in our fund for as low as $25,000. Now, how much money do you need of your own to get started in any of these endeavors? Well, none, if you're willing to take the time to gain the expertise and the know-how. The expertise and the know-how holds more value than money, as you guys have just learned. And it's fact. Money's important. Don't get me wrong. But if you got all the money in the world, but you have no skills, no knowledge, no connections, no pull, no abilities, you're not going to go out there and build yourself an apartment building. And equally so, if somebody has the skills, the knowledge, the know-how, the crews, and the abilities, but they don't have access to any money or they don't have the money to do it, it's not getting done. It requires both, but there's a lot more people out here in the world, that have money to invest than there are experienced operators that took the time to gain a specialized skill set. So it's only $25,000 minimum to invest with us, in these apartment builds and stuff like that. But as far as money that you would need of your own to become a house flipper, don't necessarily need any money, so to speak, of your own. If you want to get into any real estate related endeavors, if you utilize your skills, your knowledge, and your expertise, I didn't say experience because expertise and experience are a little bit different, but expertise, know-how, connections, support, team, all of that holds a lot of value. Yes. Bethany said, people willingly want to give you money when they see that you have a good opportunity. And this is the truth. But of course, we as the operators have the job of getting the word out about the opportunity. Yeah. So if nobody knows you and nobody knows that you have this wonderful opportunity, it's not like a bunch of investors are going to be, knocking your door down to give you their money. But Bethany's right. Sometimes the team that's involved and the project at hand, the numbers and whatever it may be, kind of sell the deal, right? It doesn't take much of a salesperson. For instance, in this 32-unit apartment building, we're building it for $6.5 million all in, and it'll sell for $9.5 million. I mean, it's a good project. Geez, those are killing me today. But guys, Fitness and Finance with Patrick. I do this in the mornings in my garage gym to motivate people to work out and stay physically fit, but also to talk investments and financial intelligence. And we're just talking about the 32-unit build in Palm Bay, Florida, and where it's at in what we call the last mile. We're about to finish the darn thing, and people will be living there here shortly. And it's been a long time coming. But in this case, investors have been participating with us for quite some time and been enjoying the progress that we've been making. But now it's time to finish her up and get people living there in these apartment buildings out in Palm Bay, Florida, and then sell it once it's already completely occupied And once we sell it, all the investors get to be paid back. You're supposed to be killing it. All the investors get paid back. They're made happy and whole. They get a good return on their investment. We get to sell the apartment. Our fund gets to make some money and make some profit for dealing with having to get the skills and put the team in place and to do all this. As the operators, the fund will get to make some money. And all downhill from here. Killing me, not NJ, what's up with you today? You got some typos. That got me earlier, though. That got me earlier. What is 19% of 3 million? 45. That got me really good this morning. It was awesome. Super funny. So let me ask you this. We got 8 people on right now. If you're just jumping on, it's Fitness and Finance with Patrick. We've been talking about the 32-unit apartment build in Florida and the opportunity that it has there. My question is this, guys. What would you do if you wanted to become financially free as an entrepreneur in the real estate space? I'm just curious. What draws your curiosity? If you were going to become a financially free, wealthy real estate entrepreneur, would you buy a bunch of rental properties? And would you just hold a bunch of rental properties in your portfolio and collect a bunch of rents from tenants? Would you want to get into multifamily like we are, whether you go syndicate and buy an existing apartment building for value add, or maybe you want to build an apartment building? Would you flip houses? Would you want to be a house flipper like on HGTV and all that? Would you want to buy mortgage notes like I do for passive cash flow and not deal with the actual physical real estate? What if you were going to be a real estate entrepreneur and set yourself financially free, become wealthy, have a lot of passive cash flow coming in? What would you do? Would you want to be a house flipper like on television? Would you want to buy an apartment building? Would you want to build an apartment building? Would you just want to buy single family homes and collect rent? What would you do? What would your take be? Because I want to show you guys in any of those endeavors how learning how to raise private capital is going to be huge. Dexter wants to do mortgage notes. So in order to buy enough mortgage notes to set yourself financially free, would we have the need to raise money from other people? In order to grow a mortgage note portfolio big enough to set yourself financially free, would we need to learn the skill of raising money from others? Yes or no? I will tell you this. If you guys figure that, oh boy, is this going to be too heavy to start with? Let me see. Okay. I'll tell you this. I didn't know what I do about notes. I think rental properties for cash flow and flip some houses. Bethany, if you didn't know about notes, you would have rental properties and flip houses. Yeah. Those of you who don't know what we're talking about when these guys are saying notes is that we buy mortgage notes because people tend to pay their mortgages. And when you own the mortgage note, you don't have to deal with all the hassles of being a landlord. So Bethany, if she didn't know about notes, she would probably be in rentals and flips. Yeah. Dexter would be in notes. Well, I got to tell you something. If you have somewhere around, if we do the math, somewhere around, say, $2 million or so. If you had $2 million of your own money, if you had $2 million of your own money, you'd be fine. $2 million of your own money, and you're fine. Whether it be notes, rental properties, or any of that. NJ, that was a good one. Peace out, Girl Scout. Have a good day. See you, NJ. Thanks for cruising by. If you have like $2 million of your own money, okay, which most of us don't have, but if you had $2 million of your own money, you're fine. You're fine. You probably don't need to raise anybody else's money. Yeah, Bring a calculator tomorrow, NJ. I'm just kidding. I love you. I love you here participating and showing up in the mornings. It's good to have you, NJ. So have a wonderful day. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. So understand that whether you're going to do any of these endeavors, in order to scale, unless you've got $2 million. Now, if you got $2 million, then of course we can take and invest our own $2 million into mortgage notes and real estate for tax write-off capabilities and so forth. And if you got about $2 million, I've calculated is about the number. And that is if you want to make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month income, okay? Then about $2 million will do it fairly easily. Maybe 1.5 million. So if you got 1.5 million or $2 million, then no need for other people's money unless you want to scale huge, but you can go out there and invest your $2 million and be just fine. But if you don't have $2 million, then you can take the other route, which is to take the time to get the skills, take the time to learn and get the skills and the expertise needed to pull off house flipping at scale, or to pull off syndication, or to pull off development. And if you get the skills, the team, the know-how, and you become experienced enough to pull off the project, then you can go find the folks with the money that want to participate with you in that endeavor. But it's one way or the other. You're either going to have your own $2 million and you're fine, or you're going to have to raise other people's money to get there. I think the whole key is financial freedom. The whole key is financial freedom. And like I said, even the most wealthy operators use their skills, their know-how, their political pull, and their ability to get these projects across the board and finished up, like building an apartment building, like building a skyscraper, like building a master plan community, like flipping houses at scale, requires know-how, skills, knowledge, expertise, and all of that holds value. So you can raise money from others and make a good matchup, right? People with good financial capabilities need good operators so that they can get their money working in safe real estate-backed environments that produce good returns, because many people are sick and tired of the ups and downs of the stock market. And many people with their individual retirement accounts diversified across the stock market, in the hands of some CPA, aren't making the returns they really need to make to retire, wealthy or to retire comfortably. So when you can offer up an opportunity, because you take the time to get the skills, the know-how, the knowledge, the connections, the people around you, to be an operator, to be able to pull off these projects profitably, you then become pretty valuable to people that have money, that don't want to keep playing in the stock market, losing sleep at night with where the cryptocurrencies are going. Everything's red, everything's crashing, all this stuff. We protect ourselves against when we're buying mortgage-backed promissory notes, or, as you can see, when we're doing development. Because at the end of the day, the 32-unit apartment building cost $6.5 million to build, all in from land, entitlements, and development for the 32-unit apartment building in Palm Bay, Florida, about $6.5 million. But when it's occupied and stabilized, which will happen within about 12 to 18 months from right today, that will sell for about $9.5 million, 10 million, okay? So that's how much fat there is, or meat on the bone, for you. If you're the operator, you get to share in some of that profit. There's $3.5 million in profit or so on top when it's all done. But also, guys, with those kind of numbers, you can pay your investors back, and you can pay your investors back with a nice, handsome return. And again, this is not a lending institution. I'm not, my investors are people and families. It's not me borrowing money on a credit line from Wells Fargo. So if you make families money and you do well for people, people become very loyal, and I'll have investors that will invest with me for years to come on my next project and my next project. And so you being able to have the skills to pull these projects across the board, make your investors good money in a secure environment, and for you and your family to be able to benefit from your skills, it's all a win-win-win-win-win situation all the way around. And in this case, the big win, or one of the big wins, is at the end of the day, there's going to be a 32-unit apartment building out there. It's probably going to be standing in Palm Bay for the next 50 years. And, people will be raising kids there. People who work in the hospitality and medical industry will be living there. And we're providing a great place, for years to come for people to live. It's kind of cool, right? It's fun that I'll be able to 20 years from now go out to Florida and go, yep, I built that apartment building way back when. And there's still there standing and still people raising their families there. So it's just a win-win-win all the way around. A win for you if you're willing to take the time to gain the expertise, the knowledge, the connections, the know-how, the support, and become an operator, then you can do big things. And you can help investors who need you in order to make a good return in alternative investments. Then the second person that can benefit, obviously, is your investors. If you can be ethical and open book and you can run a good project, you can do it on time and you can get your investors paid back as promised with a nice return, they're going to become loyal to you and they're going to trust you with more of their money in future projects. So you now have created a pool of investors that want to work with you again and again. It's huge. And then if you're building something like a single family home from raw land, or like we're doing, building a 32 unit apartment building from raw land, it wasn't there before. It was just a blank piece of land. Now there's going to be this wonderful place, and we do build them nice, by the way. There's going to be this nice, wonderful place for families to live out there in Palm Bay in a beautiful, brand newly built apartment building. And it's like 10 minutes from really, really beautiful beaches out there. When I went out to Palm Bay a couple times, of course, in the thought of developing these apartments, I got toured down there in Melbourne. It's the east coast of Florida where they launch the rockets. So they call it the Space Coast, where they launch all the SpaceX stuff. And there were some beautiful, beautiful beaches, 10, 15 minutes from this apartment building. Wifey came out to get something, but the finish line of the marathon is correct. That's why we call it the last mile. So in the next 12 months or so, we complete the 32, we sell it, and everybody's happy. There's an investment opportunity available for people that have cash or IRA that want to participate in this last mile, doing the finish work, getting the building occupied and sold. The least risky time to be an investor in the apartment build, best investment to value ratio, and best returns. So we're paying 15 to 19% for 12 to 18 months. It's a good deal. It's a really, really good deal. And why are we willing to pay so much money for the usage of that for only 12 to 18 months? Well, it's the last mile. It's the last mile. We definitely know our timing now. We know what needs to be done. We know when it can be completed. And we know how much it's going to sell for once it's stabilized. So we're there. We're at the last mile, or like Dexter said, the finish line of the marathon. And it, definitely can sometimes feel like a marathon. There ain't no doubt about that. But this is, investor Q&A. It's supposed to be Q&A with Patrick. So I know we have some people on here still, and I'm just going to be finishing up the workout. We did lat pull downs, we did seated rows, and we just did some upright rows. And so as you can see, we're getting traps, the shoulders, biceps are starting to get a little bit pumped and feeling good today for the workout part of this session. And now we're going to finish off with just some dumbbell curls and that while I keep talking to you guys. But in the meantime, open up for some questions or some comments. We were talking about the finishing line of the 32 unit apartment building that we're building out in Palm Bay, Florida. It's the finish line. We call it the last mile. We're finishing it up to get it occupied. And then we're going to sell that building. It's a $6.5 million all-in build from raw land to developed. And then it sells for about $9.5 to $10 million to an apartment buyer that wants to own that apartment building long-term. And in this case, in the 32 unit, we are selling it to move forward because we have we have a 48 unit apartment building. Let me see if I can turn this guy on. It might follow me for you guys. But we have a 48 unit apartment building that we've gone through all those permitting and entitlements we were talking about. And so it's what they call shovel ready. So we're ready to pour foundation on the 48 unit and get going on that one. So as soon as we get this 32 done, we're going to already be starting on the 48. And that'll be 2 apartment buildings there in Palm Bay. And we're going to build 1,000+ units between now and 2030 out there in Palm Bay. They need the doors out there. In fact, the Florida Apartment Housing Administration says they need 530,000 new doors in Florida multifamily between now and 2030. Obviously, we're a very small fly in that bowl of soup. But we're going to do our part and build some and make a profitable endeavor for our investors in that. Will investors be invited to a ribbon cutting ceremony? Yeah, that would be kind of cool, but then everybody has to get themselves all the way out to Florida. But sure, why not? We already did the ribbon cutting ceremony, the ones they do with the shovels, the gold shovels. And when we did they call it the groundbreaking ceremony. But when we did the groundbreaking ceremony on the 32 unit out there in Palm Bay, the interim mayor of Palm Bay was out there at the groundbreaking ceremony with us with a shovel in his hand. So that goes to show you also the connections, the political pull, and having the right people in the right places to be able to get these projects pushed across the board. The interim mayor to the city of Palm Bay was out there at what they call the groundbreaking ceremony, where we did have shovels and took some pictures and things like that. But Donnie is his name. He was a good guy. Donnie, we went to a Brazilian steakhouse and he was at the groundbreaking ceremony. He's the interim mayor or the deputy mayor of Palm Bay. So that's good stuff. Let's finish this off, guys, and get our biceps just thrashed with some hammer curls. And in the meantime, if you got questions about the investment, questions about raising private capital, questions about the apartment development, the 32 unit that we're finishing, it's going across the finish line, guys, here. They call it the last mile. So we get to do all the finishing, the drywall, the flooring, put the bathtub, showers, kitchen cabinets in, and get these things ready to be rented out. So what you end up starting doing, of course, is during this finishing stage over the next 6 to 12 months, when we're doing all the finish work, completing the apartment, there's already going to be, of course, ads running out there to get the apartments pre-rented. So even before you're finished, you're having people do a virtual walkthrough and pick their apartment and sign up to rent and move in before it's even built, before it's even complete. And so one of the goals that you have, is to kind of get them all pre-rented and spoken for before you even get it done. It's all a part of the process. But it's been a good one. Questions or comments from you guys on anything about this? The investment opportunity, the apartment build, raising OPM. Any questions, any comments? And again, guys, if you're just hopped on, the reason I do this physical and financial fitness with Patrick in the mornings is twofold. One, to motivate people to get in their best shape ever. No matter what age you are, no matter where you're starting from, if you want to get in better shape physically, then maybe I can be a motivation for you. So I'm just a guy who's consistent. I'm going to be here every single morning, live on YouTube from 6:30 to 8 a.m. And part of my motivation is to get you guys to think about your physical fitness and get in the best shape you ever can be, no matter what age, no matter where you're starting from. It's all about starting where we're at and improving on a daily basis. And you will see gains and you will see your body change with a little bit of consistency over time. So one of my purposes here is to help people to just concentrate on getting in their best physical shape ever, because with better physical shape, better energy, better motivations, not feeling sluggish, you're actually capable of doing a lot more for your family, for yourself, and for your finances. So the reason why I do physical and financial fitness on here is because also I run an investment fund. I've been a professional full-time investor since 2018. I was able to quit my W-2 job and move full-time into investing. And I specialize in mortgage notes, and now we're developing apartments from the ground up out in Florida. But it's something to where I maybe can offer some insight to people that are interested in these kinds of things, whether you want to be a real estate entrepreneur, you want to set yourself financially free, you want to be the person that's the operator or entrepreneur, learn the skills and have the knowledge to do some of these things. Or maybe you're an investor and you just like to hear about investment opportunity, whatever it may be. But that's what we talk about here on My Lives. And that's all. It's an open book. There's no ego here. There's no script. It's live. It's open Q&A. And hell, I'm trying to answer questions and be focused on you guys as much as possible while I'm also trying to work out. And I didn't realize how much of a pain in the rear end that would be. So sometimes I'm out of breath, but it is what it is. Getting in our best physical shape, getting in our best financial shape we can possibly be for ourselves and our families. And that's the point of all this. If I can help motivate you in either way to become better physically fit or financially fit, that would be a pleasure for me. We talked about the 32-unit apartment build in Florida today, and I taught you guys a little bit about the processes of development and what it takes to go from raw land to getting permitting and entitlements and approvals from city and state and federal, getting all that approved to where you're allowed to do something on that piece of land. And then you have to have the knowledge to be able to put together the crews, the blueprints, the ordering of the materials of whatever it is you want to build. And then you get to vertical. Vertical starting with underground infrastructure and foundation. And of course, starting to build structure and go vertical. And once you get something like this apartment built, of course, along the way, your theory is to prep it to be fully occupied and get it cash stabilized, meaning that it's filled up and people are starting to pay monthly rent. And then, yeah, thanks, Dexter. We applaud you for making it happen while I'm putting my body in duress. So true. But it's all good. It keeps me accountable. Just like you guys will keep me accountable if you show up here. If people keep showing up at these lives, guess what? It means I have to wake my ass up tomorrow and show up for you guys. So it's good motivation for me too. Where I say, oh man, I don't feel like working out today. Man, I don't feel like doing this. I want to lay around. And we give the best excuses possible to ourselves. And we can come up with about 150 different excuses. Yeah, of course I'm here in my garage. But guys, that's it. So we're going to talk about fitness and finance here in the mornings. You guys motivate me to keep doing this. I want to motivate you to get your body moving, get in the best shape you can be in. And if you guys got questions about setting yourself financially free, getting financial freedom, maybe quitting your W-2 job once and for all, making your own schedule, having passive cash flow coming in that supplements your lifestyle, get rid of this whole, I'm going to trade time and energy for a little bit of money week after week after week until the day I die. Maybe you want to get out of that. I know I wanted to get out of it enough to humble myself, go get a mentor, take really big risks, guys. I sold my house. I was a homeowner. I sold my house. I quit my job where I was making $100,000 a year. I sold my house. I quit my job. I moved my family when I had a 6-month-old baby at that time. I bought this little office that was like 400 square feet, and I put 2 desks back to back in one room. Like I had one little office room, and I put 2 desks back to back on either side of the walls, and I convinced my mentor that I made the commitment enough to be mentored by him. He said, you're a lot of talk, Patrick, and when you show me you're really committed, I'll mentor you in this space. And my commitment was sell my house, quit my job, burn my bridges, and go get a little office with 2 desks back to back, and then say, look, I'm committed. And then he said, shoot, I guess you are. And I started training 5 days a week in a little office after I burnt all the boats, burnt all the bridges to set myself financially free. So it's going to take some risk. It may take some commitment. It may take some bravery. But here's the thing. You guys can all be financially free in a few short amount of years if you just start to walk down a different path maybe than you're walking down now, if you're not already financially free. I was working 40 or 50 hours a week as a sales manager for many years, training salespeople on how to sell high-ticket home remodeling like solar and roofing and kitchen remodeling and all that. So I was in the home remodeling business for a lot of years, and I was, the 40, 50-hour-a-week grind, and I was stuck there, and I could do that. I could have done that, or I could have stayed doing that, and I knew it. I could have stayed being a sales manager or in that kind of a career until I'm 70 years old, and I don't have the energy to do it no more, and I could see that. And I just didn't want that, guys. It's one thing to have good income, but they call sometimes good high-level income because good income comes from trading time and energy for money. That's what income is. Cash flow comes from assets. So income that we trade our time and energy for money for, a lot of times people with a high level of income have what they call golden handcuffs. Have you guys ever heard that term before, golden handcuffs? There is a student of mine in our at Note Investor University where we teach people how to buy mortgage notes. And there's a student of mine who is in the medical industry, doctor, makes like $375,000 per year. Huge income, right? But he always tells me and my partner why he's studying mortgage notes and why he's studying real estate so relentlessly, because he has what he calls golden handcuffs. Have you guys ever heard that term? What do you think about those golden handcuffs? What it means, guys, is yes, this gentleman is making $275,000 per year, or I think it's $375,000 a year. Anyways, huge doctor's medical income. but on call 50 hours a week, every week, on call. To the point where I was talking to him one time and he said, oh man, my wife and my kids, my family, they all went on this little vacation for a couple days. So I'm kind of by myself and I have time to talk to you and da-da-da. So I thought I'd call you. I said, what do you mean? Your kids went and your wife went on this little vacation. Well, his wife and kids went on a vacation without him because he can't go. He's on call. He can't do stuff like that. So they call it golden handcuffs, where the high income level and what he does for work has him trapped. He doesn't really have a life outside of work, but he does make a huge high level of income. So that's a type of guy who maybe is someone to follow a good lesson from, right? Because there's a lot of us on here that would say, dude, if I was making $375,000 a year, what do you got to complain about? Well, when you get there and you realize that you're not allowed to have a real life and that your whole life is work, then it becomes, trapping. It becomes very claustrophobic and you are under some sort of form of financial slavery, if you would, because if he stops working, the income stops also. So he's trying to understand assets and building assets and passive cash flow through real estate to hopefully get himself out of that position or be able to retire a lot better when he's ready. So, guys, it's about the passive cash flow and it's about assets over liabilities. And you heard all that crap. So I'll get off my soapbox this morning, guys. But if you guys want to come back tomorrow, we'll discuss maybe a new subject. I'm thinking of maybe leaving it open tomorrow for people to let me know what they want me to talk about so I don't come with a subject. But tomorrow we're going to do some simple light leg exercises. And we're going to do some abs. One of my goals this year is to cut down more of this belly fat and get my abs to show up a little bit. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow. Some legs and some abs. And I think I'll leave it open and we'll just have an open conversation tomorrow. People, what they want to know about investing, mortgage notes, cash flow, raising private capital, or any of that. We'll have some fun. But of course, I will be back here tomorrow for you guys consistently. It'll be 6:30 to 8 a.m. Pacific time. Physical and financial fitness with Patrick. We're going to talk about how to get in better shape physically, better shape financially, and hopefully we can learn together and support each other, guys. So if you want to work out with me tomorrow, fantastic. I'd love to be your motivation there. And if you want to just come and ask some questions about investing, financial opportunity, how you can become an entrepreneur in the real estate investing space, how to raise other people's money, and really to kind of set yourself financially free, which is really all the goal, right? No one wants money to have money to look at. No one wants to be rich so that they can have a pile of money sitting in their living room and go, look at that. Not that. People want a lot of money because they want the freedom that comes with the money. They want financial freedom. And that's what we can earn together, guys. I've been able to do it to earn my financial freedom, and I want to help others do it too. And everybody can do it. You don't have to be smart. Look, I've proved that. Ha! All right, guys. Hey, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day today. And hopefully this was fun for you. You got some nuggets and all that, and I was helpful.